Welcome back to another episode of Wake Up and Live with Bob. Um, Today, I want to talk about go back into a little nostalgia. Now, I don't know how old you need to be to remember certain things in the old Jamaica, um, but I certainly remember with a certain amount of affection, certain things that were the norm in my younger days. Younger is could be old for some people, and it could be young for some people. Um, but I want to I want to ask. I don't know who remember the days when in your community you had just like one telephone. Maybe it was the more well-off person or persons in the community that had that phone, or it could just be that one phone booth. Yes, phone booth. Remember those phone booth, those coin phones that eventually changed to card phones. You'd slip a card in and you're able to make a call. Who remember those days? One phone in the entire community. In fact, there wasn't. It was like that for a lot of communities until I believe. I don't want to sound political now, but I believe it was. Yes, it was actually during the Michael Manley's last term, 1989 through about 91, and then PJ Patterson, that we then had the opportunity for just about anyone in Jamaica to have a phone if they want. It wasn't until that time, but on before that, it was simply one person in the community that would actually have a phone, or one or two, usually the well-off people, or it was just a phone booth in that community. Um, Jolly Bus. Who remember the Jolly Bus? The Jamaica Omnibus service. The Jolly Bus. You could, if you were a kid, you could ride for 5 cents. Sounds very long ago. An adult was 10 cents. That was in the 80s, though. Sounds very long ago, but that was it. Yes, the Jolly Bus system. Now, in very rural areas that didn't have regular bus routes, you had, of course, what they call a country bus. It could be names like the Blue Danube, the Morning Star, or the Triumph, or mm, all types of names. It just depends on who owned them, because the government at the time in the 70s, I think, had networked the countrysides with a set of bus to create a stable bus system. Um, yes. Who remember when you had to save all your DNG bottles? If you could save your DNG bottles and exchange them for a crate of soda, if you had enough, the DNG soft drinks. Every Christmas time, prior to that, we would save crates and crates of bottles and try to trade it out for a case of soda. We would do that for Christmas time, Easter time, or like Independence time. Yes, the DNG truck would come around and would either pay you for the bottles you had, and or you could exchange it for sodas if you actually had sufficient for that, the equivalent, so to speak. Um, who remember buying ice from the ice truck? The ice truck would come around, you know, um, ice stored up in the truck. You'd buy the ice, whether it's a quarter of a ice, a whole block of ice, or half a ice, and you'd go home, chip it up, and that would make nice, cool Sunday evening drink that go along with the dinner. Or who remember buying ice from your neighbor? Some neighbors who, not everyone had fridge, so some neighbors would actually sell ice to each other. Those were actually good days. Right along that line too, who remember buying sock? That sock, that bag juice sock. Oh man, that was Suck suck was a thing. You know, every child loved that snack, the suck suck snack. Um, you know, I even used to make suck suck. You know, my mother made suck suck, and we sold suck suck to the neighborhood, mostly to kids. You know, who love that. Um, who remember having to take herbal washout? Herbal washout. Like before every holiday, before every Christmas, every Independence, every Easter, your mother or your grandmother would give you that herbal washout. For some people, it was like maybe cercity or some other thing, and for some people, it was that herb in that yellowish, orangish wrappings. It looks like a stick of butter, uh, and when they give you that, and boy, they give you that in the nighttime, and by morning, you know you're committed to spending about 4 hours back and forth in the toilets. That was something else, and right along that line too, the toilets, pit toilets. Who remember having pit toilets? Because if you took that herb and you had to go and oh, that pit toilet, you make several trips to that pit toilet. Boy, the pit toilets, was that was something. And right along that line also, chimney. Who remember having to use chimney? Um, most Jamaicans use chimney, and you know it was the kids, the children's job to empty that chimney, uh, and God forbid that chimney had some overnight stool in there, some poop, you know, because generally we pee in there, but at nighttime, who's gonna leave out of the house and go outside, risk seeing bumping into a duppy, and go out to use the pit toilet outside? So you know sometimes you have to drop that load in the chimney, and you know if you were the kid in the house, your job is to empty that chimney. Kerosene lamp. Who remember kerosene lamp? I can still remember the smell of that kerosene oil burning in that lamp. That I think it was a Home Sweet Home lampshade. I can still see the Home Sweet Home lampshade in my head, and a lot of people had to study by lamplight from that Home Sweet Home lampshade. Um, the cold fire iron. Who remember the cold fire iron? I can still smell the burning coal from the cold fire iron. These irons, you'd open them up, put fire coal in there, and you know, you iron your clothes. Your parents would iron your clothes that way, um, and you know, who remember having to your parents, your grandparents, or somebody in the making starch from a cassava. You know, they when they starch those clothing that you wore, like a uniform, school uniform and thing, and they put that fire coal iron on it. Man, you get a seam that could cut any piece of meat, a sharp piece of seam in your khaki uniforms, your khaki as we call it uniform. Um, you know, a seam that lasts even when you have to even after you've washed the clothes, the seam would still be in there from that last starching and ironing that you gave it. Um, uh, Coffee. Who remembers seeing their grandparents or even their parents beating their own coffee, their own cocoa, their own dandelion seed or stuff like that? Yes, they didn't really buy coffee back then in packs. You know, a lot of people would grow coffee and they dry them themselves and beat them in a mortar. And for those of you who don't know a mortar, imagine a tree. You cut down a tree and you cut a piece of the trunk, like 18 inches of the trunk, and then you dig a hole into the trunk, dig it out, clean it out, and leave it hollow. And then you have a big stick, and you put that coffee and stuff down in there, and you beat it until it's actually smooth and good enough to actually boil. Sometimes it wouldn't even boil smoothly. You'd have to still strain it off after you've boiled the coffee. Um, Drop me a line. Tell me your favorite memories of things of old Jamaica. I'm sure everyone has some pleasant memories about old time Jamaica. Thanks again for watching Wake Up and Live with Bob. If you haven't yet done so, please like, share, subscribe, and tell someone about my videos. Thanks again for watching.